Ho ho ho, watch people! Time flies and Christmas already is right around the corner, and if you're anything like me, you have no idea what to gift to the people around you. You're gonna wait until December 24 and then spend half the day in an overcrowded mall buying soap and whiskey. But maybe some of those people you want to give a gift to is owning an expensive watch. Well, in that case, chances are that's a watch guy or a watch girl. And to get a gift for them, I can help you with. My name's David, welcome to Watchcraft. Alright, quick wristwatch check first. Today I am wearing the 16610, still my favorite Submariner of them all. What a beauty. Okay, with that out of the way, let me give you the first rule of giving gifts to watch people. Don't buy a book. Don't buy a book. I don't even know why people still make them. Who wants to look at a book of watches instead of the watches? Same thing with cars. You're gonna buy a guy with a Ferrari a book of all the Ferrari models? I don't know, man. I bet you if they would do a survey of all the books about watches and cars and stuff like that, I'd say 90% of those books were purchased as a gift and not because the person owning the book actually enjoys it. So, no books, alright? Don't buy a book.
Books are for pussies.
No.
Go hit the gym.
Alright, rule number 2 on what to not buy a watch guy is, surprisingly, a watch. Don't buy them a watch. We're gonna get into that topic later on a bit more in detail, but to summarize, a watch is a very personal thing and has a lot to do with personal taste. So getting the right one, very difficult task. So if you can't pick the low-hanging fruit of a book with pretty pictures, and if you can't buy an actual watch, what options do you have? Well, accessories. You're gonna buy accessories for the watch. For example, buy some Nato Straps. These little inexpensive pieces of fabric can work real wonders on a watch. Because what they do is, they take an old watch you're probably sick of by now and give it a completely new look, making it feel like a brand new watch. The difference of wearing a watch on its original bracelet versus on a Nato is huge in terms of appearance and also in terms of feel. And to my knowledge, there's not a soul in the world who doesn't like Nato straps. So, very cool gift idea for watch people. These will cost you about $15 to $20 a piece. If you have a budget for two, I suggest you buy a classic one, like a plain black, or the James Bond version, and pair it with a freaky one, lots of colors, just something special, you know? If you only have a budget for one, I suggest you go with a freaky one to make sure it's definitely a strap that is not yet in possession of the person you want to gift it to. Nato straps, they are available on the market like sand on a beach. You can find them everywhere. Online though, actually I think I never saw one in person in a store. So go online, type in Nato strap, you will have boatload of options to choose from. Size-wise, go with the 20mm version. This is gonna fit the vast majority of all watches. Alright, what else we got accessory-wise? You could get the watch guy or watch girl a Loupe. Alright? Anyway, let me do a Scrooge McDuck here. You know, it's funny that so many watch people, they spend thousands of dollars on expensive watches. And they go on and on about the beauty, the finishing of the movement, the level of detail, the craftsmanship. Yet, they don't even own a Loupe to really appreciate it. So this is a very, very nice accessory to have if you are in possession of some high-end watches. It's a real pleasure to look at them up close. So make sure the person doesn't yet own one and get them one of those watchmaker's loupes. Next up in the accessories category, we have tools. Tools to change straps on your watch. And basically there's only one thing you need, and that's a springboard tweezer. Well, I gotta be honest with you, they are not that easy to find. Good quality options, I should say. The original that everyone loves, I don't know if you can read it, it's the Bergeon and they are super expensive. However, from my experience, I can say they are worth the money. If you're not comfortable with spending that much, there are cheaper alternatives, however hard to find, and just make sure that form-wise it looks like this. Because there are cheap versions available that have a little spring in the middle to give it resistance when you push. Those garbage. Don't even waste your money on it. I did waste my money on one of those. Not worth it. Alright, in my opinion, that should give you enough ammunition to find a nice gift for a watch person. Now, if you still insist on buying them a watch, let's talk about it. As I said, buying a watch for a watch person is a very difficult thing. They probably spend hours thinking about the topic. They know much more about the topic than you do. They have developed a personal taste already that is hard for anybody to understand that is not living in their head. So picking the right one is a bit of a challenge. It is not impossible though. I see two main courses of action you could take. The one that I recommend is go with a cheap watch. That sounds counterintuitive at first, but hear me out. Going with a cheap watch eliminates one thing. There's not going to be disappointment. Let's say you spend $5,000 on an IWC. Gift it to the person, and it turns out they fucking hate IWC. Now they're going to be disappointed. They're going to think, for the same price, he or her could have gotten me an Omega, which I would have loved. Secondly, they're going to feel bad for you. They're going to feel bad for the huge amount of money that you've spent on a thing they don't even enjoy. However, if it's a cheap watch, let's say $20, $30, if they hate it, who cares? It's $30. Another good thing about cheap watches is, if you pick the right one, they are not as polarizing as the expensive ones. Take Casio as an example. The Casio vintage line, most watch people, they like Casio. And even if they don't like it, they're probably more or less indifferent. I personally don't know a single person who thinks Casio is shit. I think that was the first time in history this sentence has been uttered, just now. Casio is shit. Nobody says that. So to get a bit more concrete, my suggestion is buy a vintage Casio. By vintage, I don't mean an old watch, I'm talking about the vintage line of Casio. They still use the same design as back in the 80s. Basically, it's the exact same watch, just produced brand new. So there's a lot of warm nostalgia coming with it. And for the price of only about $30, you can get a piece like this. Or maybe a bit more sporty, a piece like this. Or if you're looking for one for a lady, you can get a beauty like this. Now, another option that you have for a cheap watch would be the Swatch System 51. Very interesting piece. This is actually a mechanical watch. And it's definitely one of the most affordable mechanical watches in the market. Plus, there are some interesting details about its manufactured. I suggest you head on to the Swatch homepage, give it a good read and see if that's interesting to you. Lastly, I would like to suggest maybe a Flick Flock. I think that will be a fun watch to give, especially if the person you're gifting it to has very, very expensive watches. Like the contrast between the two, I think is interesting. But make sure they are aware of the brand and they have some kind of fond memory with this watch. If they never heard of it, they're probably not going to be able to appreciate it. So, I encouraged you to get accessories instead of a watch. Then I strongly recommended to go with a cheap watch instead of an expensive one. But if you still won't give in, alright, I'm gonna give you my thoughts on how to gift an expensive watch. Okay, as I said before, a lot of personal taste involved. Picking the right one, close to impossible, but you can drastically improve your chances by going about it like that. First, try to find out exactly what watches the person you want to gift one to already owns. Write them down, make a list of it, and if you are in doubt of your own knowledge about the watch world, take that list, go to a dealer. Give them that list and ask them what watch they would buy to complement that collection. And when I say dealer, I mean a secondary market dealer. Usually they have a much better knowledge of the watch world than the salesperson in, let's say, the Rolex boutique. Now, another way to go about it, and in my opinion, the holy grail of gifting a watch, would be to take an interest or a hobby of the person, find a watch that is about that thing, and then gift that watch. Sounds easy, very hard. I'll give you an example. In my case, I love space travel. The Apollo program, now SpaceX with their Mars mission, I'm all about that shit. So if you would go to Omega and buy a Speedmaster Snoopy, a watch that was awarded that Snoopy safety seal because the watch helped in saving the lives of the Apollo 13 astronauts by giving them a way to time the burn of their spaceship while the computers were down, and the duration of that burn, 14 seconds, is even marked on the dial of the watch. I mean, if you get me this watch, I'm gonna cry probably. I'm gonna break out in tears. So if you can find something like that, a watch that has some kind of connection with the hobby of the person, that's the holy grail. Now, I realize that is very, very hard to do. You're gonna have to put a lot of thinking and research into the thing. Maybe a place to start would be favorite movies of the person. See if the main character in their favorite movies maybe is wearing a special kind of watch. That would be a nice idea. But yeah, that's something you have to figure out if you want to go that route. If you're listening to me, you're gonna get some Nato Straps. $20 and that's it. Alright people, that's all I got for today. Have fun hunting for those Christmas gifts. If you don't want to miss the next episode, make sure to subscribe and I'll see you then. Have a good one.